Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 8th, 2023 at approximately 4:22 p.m. PST. And apparently that worked well. Now, I returned to this world at this time, at this point in life, for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same ones that I personally live my life by. Now, before I get into it, I did decide we were going to take a look at making your transformation into a much brighter tomorrow. Start now. But before I get into that, yes, now and then before, let's go back up here, and we have, this is amazing. I opened the door, and we've already got 8 in the chat room. We start with Dogface with the gold. Terry comes in with the silver, and Kimberly, you come in with the bronze, with Adam showing up with the honorable mention. Now, while I'm in the process of that, I want to say hi to Shadow. Thanks for joining us. Susie B, glad you can make it. And what do we got here? Of course, can't read all that well necessarily, but we have, what do we got? Joe, how you doing? Hope your day's been going well. And Brown Dwarf, welcome aboard. Now, I have been doing a few things. I will tell you, the reality of it is, the reason I said that I think I'm lost today is when I made the comment that I wouldn't be on tomorrow, I was thinking, quite frankly, that yesterday was Wednesday. Thereby being that I'd missed Wednesday, and of course Thursday, as you know, I won't be here, right? Which would have put it Friday. As it turns out, today's Wednesday, which I think most of you figured out. Hey, Carlito, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, I made a list of a couple of things I was planning on getting to and got a little sidetracked here. So just to let you know now who's in the room that knows about it. Is Ozzy here yet? Not by the look of it. Let's see what questions we've got. Because as you know, yes, I'll get a little scattered, but that's because I still drive off the chat room, and I will continue to do that. So for those people that show up here figuring there's a lot of cross chatter and thereby trolls in the room or something, don't worry about it. Okay, the reality is that it's that kind of interaction that really helps get people moving in the right direction. Now, we can continue looking at what we're being taught. You can absolutely choose to look at the past and go, oh, the world is an absolute wreck and we're all going to die. Well, bring you up to speed. We are all going to die. Lily Pond, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, we are absolutely all going to die. Some of us, like me, just happen to die more often than the others. You know, and that's just the reality behind my life. But if you take a look at the top of the chat room, you'll find a whole list of various different chat rooms that people in this room are all have of their own. Okay. I seriously encourage you to check out the other YouTube channels and see what they're about. If you like them, give them a thumbs up. Speaking of which, if you like this live stream, absolutely do give us a thumbs up. That would be really appreciated. Apparently, it's got something to do with the YouTube algorithm. Okay, and absolutely do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, and then share the daylights out of it. Now, I keep telling people, I will make every single person I ever meet happy. Some people by showing up, most of them by leaving. Okay. Now, I had the misfortune of having somebody, and I cannot caution you enough on this one. I had somebody claim that they were friends with, I think, 13 mutual friends. Now, I will tell you then whoever this chap was, and you can look back through it, because frankly, I forget the guy's name. Okay. But whoever he was, he claimed to be friends with a bunch of people I knew. So I took him on as a friend. As it turned out, and the only thing I can remember about his name, because I do caution you on this, people do this regularly. They'll say, they'll look into the friendship, into the list of who a person knows, and they'll go, "Oh, I know all of these people," right? And they will use that to get into your Facebook page or into anything else. Very, very big caution. Okay. Make absolutely certain you double check when people are trying to friend you. Now, you're not going to know everybody. And I will tell you, I'm a firm believer that 90 to 95% of people are decent individuals, regardless of where you come from. Okay. Unfortunately, the other complicated people make life a whole lot more miserable. Okay. Now, I am looking for those of you that were asking, not yesterday, but the day before, by the way, to bring you up to speed there, when I said I wouldn't be on because of family obligations, I had to go get something for my son, and it just so happened the only way to do it was during that time. So, guess what? Family, in my eyes, is first. Okay, and that's just the way that's going to continue. So if I've got something going on and my kids require me, guess who gets first dibs? It certainly will not be, and don't get me wrong, I love the people in this room. I absolutely, thoroughly appreciate you showing up. Okay. But will I still put my kids first? You bet your bottom dollar I will. Okay. But let's get started on changing your life. Okay, first and foremost, let's see what we got here. Go back to the beginning. And what do we got? I'm just scanning through to see if we've got anything and remember, people, please, if you've got a question, even if it's not on the same topic that we're discussing right now, absolutely put it in all caps. This is not, to me, in the chat room, this is not yelling. This is standing up and waving your hand, okay, so that I can find what's being asked. Okay. What do we got here? Just quickly scanning through, and there's a lot of hellos going on, a lot of people saying hi to each other, which is fantastic. This is what we have to do as a society. Okay, we've got to get communication lines back up and running properly. Okay, I love the way this starts off. Everybody's popping in. I have no idea what that one is. No, I'm just looking at an emoji here. It looks really neat, but I'm looking at it going like, what was that supposed to be? Uh-oh. Hey, Joe, if your brain was farting, did it make any smell at the same time? Hope not. I run into that quite regularly. You notice I end up doubling back on myself. Now, and I'm pretty certain everybody runs through that periodically. But let's get your life changing right now, okay? That being said, take a look in the mirror, and this is why I've got this neat pad of paper, okay? That's all it is. I am still very much a dinosaur. Okay, so I'm looking in my office right now, and here's some things I have to learn that I'm really looking at critically. Okay, I've got a list of things I'm still working on, but while I'm in the office here, I'm doing a short list. Now, I've got you can just see the calendar right here. Okay. You can just see that, and that table, that's what I call my painting station. Okay, I do a lot of my painting up front now, or while I'm on air here, if I go with a open topic. The reason for that is because I still got to keep my head working somewhere. But take a look at the way your life is. Okay, let's start at the very beginning here. Are you following a spiritual guide, a religious leader, a support group leader who's telling you, number one, fear everything, fear your creator because, he's a vindictive individual. Okay. Now, let's not forget one little detail here, Shadow. If you're going to paint, which I agree with you. If you're going to paint, don't forget the figures because just putting paint all over the table. Actually had a client that I told that's exactly what they needed to do. But that's a long story. Okay. If you're following somebody that is telling you, fear everything, I am going to warn you, this is probably not the most effective way of looking at things. Okay. Now, you do have the right. Don't kid yourself. I am not perfect. But so you have the right. If you desire to fear everything in the world, you're absolutely welcome to it because, as cold as this is going to sound, your fearing everything isn't going to play a whole lot of havoc on my life. And frankly, it won't play a whole lot of havoc on the people around you, aside from it may encourage them to spend their focus elsewhere. Hey, Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join. Yeah, I know you're always busy. This is actually a good thing. Okay. So there you go. And again, both Nathan from the Quantum Show and Shadow and Son have YouTube channels of their own. Who did what came in here? Always keep this handy because I sort of have to. And of course, yes, there is no question. My kids come first. This is my other half, and I keep her, in the loop as well. The reality of life is this. You can follow whichever path you desire. But let me ask you, are you content with all aspects of your life? Okay, I'm looking at this, and let me just take a look while I'm doing this. Because as soon as I get off, my painting station is not quite clear. There's something on it that shouldn't be there. So the first thing I do is my painting station gets cleared. Okay, now I've also got 2 other sections over there that have to be worked out. But I turned around and did something really neat where it came to the writing. Okay, now take a look at your life. Are you content with the way your life is right now? If the answer is yes, more power to you. Okay, absolutely more power to you. If you are not absolutely content with the way your life is, then frankly, it's time to start changing it. How do you go about changing that? Well, right off the bat, identify just one thing you're not content with. Just one. And this does not mean something that, and I'm talking about something you're not content with that you personally have total control over. Like when I talk about clearing a few things off my painting station there, I'm talking about things that I have the control over. I can get up and some of them will probably move before the end of this stream. Okay. Pick one thing that you personally are not content with. Yeah. Nathan from the Quam Show, he goes, reality is subjective to me. It's always Saturday and always almost Saturday. Well, in all fairness, I agree with you. Okay, the other aspect of that is it's always just past Saturday is the other side of it. Now, I've lived my life essentially for as long as I can recall, which is, by the way, a really long time. Okay, in the yesterday, today, tomorrow section. Okay, where I see all times at the same time, which I know is a really weird setup. Probably makes me sound completely loopy. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm 100% innocent. I'm 100%, accurate. Not going to happen. Okay. I can if you want me to start lying to you, but I'm just not interested in it. What do we got here? Oh, there we are. Nope. Okay. Just looking at what's scrolling down. all of it, and there we are. Now, pick one thing you're not content with. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe it is just the issue of finishing off dishes. That might be the only thing. Shadow, the best I can tell you, finding every city that I know of, depending on the size, but any city that has at least 50,000 people in it has some sort of store in it that sells gems and gemstones and the like. Okay. Any place that carries gems, any place that deals with astrology, with tarot, these are all metaphysical shops. You're really going to have to look at your local shop in order to figure out which one feels right to you. And the whole trick to it is you walk into the maybe one thought at a time. What do you think? In your area, walk into a business that carries these sorts of things and ask yourself a couple of questions. First and foremost, are you greeted when you walk through the door? Even if they're busy, are you greeted? Okay, this shows they are paying attention to the energy in the building. They are paying attention to the feel of the atmosphere. This stacks the deck in favor of it being a better shop. Okay, do make sure that you look at the way they're dealing with their merchandise. Okay, I cannot tell you this store is better than that store in your area. I know which stores I go to in Kelowna. And since I don't leave the house very much, that's not very many. The best I can tell you there, Shadow, Shadow's just asking where you can find quality gems. Now, there are some places online, but again, I don't shop online. So talk to the people that do. And hopefully, in deference to all that, Shadow, I'm hoping somebody in this chat room will actually turn around and let you know. Curiosity, though, just so that people have an idea. If you don't mind me asking, and if you do, don't answer. But what city are you actually sitting in there, Shadow? Because that will help the people in the chat room know whether they can assist you at all. And that's what this is all about, is getting people to connect. Yeah, YJ is saying, I have a local shop. Only one for 360 kilometers, which, roughly speaking, is about 300 miles. Compared to the one in the city, they're terrible, but I support them and give them encouragement to grow and improve. If the thing with that YJ is when you go in, just mention to them, when you come in, talk to the owner or the manager, whoever, and let them know that realistically, somebody walks in, even if they're at the till with another customer, simply looking up and saying hello to the people when they come in tells the people that they are of value beyond the dollar sign. This will help them sort things out as well. Maggie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. YJ, that would be really, really handy, especially, and I'm, from my standpoint, it's funny, I figured out a few things. But if you would be kind enough to send that list specifically to Shadow, if he's willing to give you his email, send the list to him and help get him on track that way. That would be really appreciated. Oh, okay, yeah. Shadow is 100 miles outside LA. Okay. So if anybody knows of a good shop in that area, it would be really appreciated if you could give him a hand. Hey, Lily Pond, I don't think I saw you come in. Welcome aboard. I am so happy. I got into the chat room today, I got the show started, and we already had 8 in the chat room. I'm telling you, I turned on my computer and went, what? Okay, bonus. Because the reality is, we take a look at where your life is. Now, I've got my office sorted out as far as where I'm working right now. Very critical to make this happen. Let's see, we've got the painting, the shelf, clear the corner. That one's going to take some time. And then we clear the desk. Now, that's the 4 areas, okay, in my office that are just over here out of sight. Okay, and again, it's a question of making certain things happen. You know, crystals themselves, and I did not manage to get in. I got into my boxes because the book Love is in the Earth, and I do not recall the author's name. Okay, but this is the title of the book that I work with. Okay, that's the title of the book that I personally have in my library. Right now, it happens to be in a box. And, I opened the box up and went, wait a minute, I got way too many books here that I've got to dispose of. Okay, simply because they're no longer doing me any good and I won't be using them again. And yes, I've got old books. The oldest book I happen to have is one that was written in 1850. The past does have a lot to teach us about where we are, but it's not a question of ever going back and correcting it. How nice. Well done there, YJ. When you start talking about skulls, I've got a plastic replica in my plastic life-size replica on my shelf in my room. Okay. And, it was kind of a weird way I ended up with it. But when you can get a decent deal, but remember, people, one of the tricks to making sure you end up on your feet, okay, is to make sure you do not overextend yourself. Track what you're doing with your finances. Now, I will tell you, budgets don't work as well as you might think, in as much as, in my experience, if you've got a definitive income, okay, not a problem there at all, Maggie. If you've got a definitive income, then absolutely you can budget. You can say, this is what money is coming in. This is how I can break it up. Okay. Now, if you're on an hourly wage or if you're on piecework, I will tell you, trying to budget and say, I've got this much money to work with doesn't work as well as you might think. Just talk to the government. They talk about budgets. Okay. The government, major corporations talk about budgets. Okay. You cannot effectively budget without knowing what the amount is. But what you can do is track what you're doing with your money. What are you spending it on? Okay. And by seeing where you're overspending, in my case, I was overspending in the restaurants last year. And again, I can go to the past and go, I shouldn't have done this. I'm so terrible at it. I can't do anything about changing that. Frankly, neither can you. Okay. I'd love to be able to in some cases, but it doesn't work that way. So I take a look at it and go, last year I was going through anywhere from $300 to $400 a month going to the restaurant. Okay. But this year I swore I wasn't going to make that mistake again. I knew what it led to. So I'm down to only going once, maybe twice a week. Okay. Which means I'm going through, 20, because of the place I go, 20, 25 bucks is usually about where I'm looking at, which is so much better than 300 or 400. Okay. Now, I'm presuming that you're using rubbing alcohol there, YJ. I am really hoping you're not using good rye. Now, good gin, well, frankly, I personally don't like gin, so I don't know if there is anything such as a good gin. But I do hope you're talking about rubbing alcohol or something to that effect. because YJ's just saying when he first opens brand new crystals from the store, he immediately soaks them and washes them in oil, right, or in alcohol rather, and then he smoke cleanses it with incense. One of the best incenses you can be using are either sage or cedar. Okay, both of these work really well. Now, I will tell you, I also work with frankincense because, again, it is one of these things that's very good at cleansing. And you don't have to worry about the idea of getting pure sage, pure frankincense, whatever. Where it comes to incense, it really doesn't have to be absolutely pure. Okay, it still works. Okay, that works. Yeah. Frankincense and myrrh is a really nice combination. And yes, I'm a firm believer where it comes to the incense. Okay. Hey, Susie B, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well. I go with, and because I've always been on a tight budget, I will go with the least expensive incense I can get, as long as it's got that right feel to it. And some cheap incenses are just that, something they put a name on, and they call it an incense. I'm like, well, technically, because it does burn and it does leave a scent. Okay, which also ultimately means it is an incense. But now, in all fairness, Susie, I've never personally used Palo Santo. Okay, or maybe it's pronounced Palo Santo. But in either event, things like this give other people an option, because I don't have all the answers. I just simply know what I know, and I am not a researcher. I was looking at somebody online today, and I guess people were complaining that they were saying they were this, that, and everything else with no proof. Well, I got nothing in the way of proof for you. All I've got is the way I live my life. And my coffee cup that says, ew. But in all fairness, I really don't see anything wrong with humans per se. I appreciate the input there. And thanks, YJ. YJ's just saying Hem is a decent incense brand. Sataya is also. From my standpoint, I've never been somebody that's really paid a lot of attention to some of this stuff. Okay, as far as name brands and what have you. Even coffee. I drink a staggering amount of it, but even coffee, I don't pay much attention to the brand except one. For me, most coffee I will drink. The one that I will quite readily throw out, okay, because I personally do not like it, but a lot of it gets sold. Okay, there is one brand I won't drink, no matter what the price is of it. But you take a look at where your life is. Now, a couple of things you can do that can enhance your finances. Okay, and do understand something very critical here. When we're looking at the way gemstones work and the way that sage works, if you do not yourself believe it's going to help, it's not likely to. Now, there are certain things that doesn't matter if you believe in. Okay, whether you believe in gravity or not. Okay, stepping off your balcony, okay, is not likely to result in you floating anywhere. Gravity is still going to grab a hold of you and slap you on the ground. Okay. See, now I like the dollar stores personally there, YJ. He's going, Amazon sells a 6-pack of incense for about $12. But, I like the dollar stores where you go in, you spend $1.50 and they give you a 12-pack. I like the price better. But take a look at the way your life is going. What have we got here? Susie's just saying, I submerge my crystals in sea salt. See, now here's what I do with my crystals. Okay. Is when I pick up a crystal, I will leave it in front of an open window. And of course, I don't do this much in the winter. Actually, more often than not, I do. But if I am picking up a crystal, or periodically if I'm going to cleanse one that I've already got, I will put it in front of an open window. Yes, the screen may well be on it, but I will move all glass, all plastic out of the way. So it sits for 3 days in a combination of sunlight and moonlight, depending on the day of the time of the day that you're looking at it. Okay, I leave it soaked there for 3 days. Okay, then I will put it on my bedside table. I don't put it under my pillow because I hate having rocks under my pillow. Okay, and I don't care if it jams. I still don't like rocks under my pillow. So I'll set them on the bedside table and I will leave them right there for the next 3 days. Net result, totally charged, totally cleared, totally attuned to your energy without the added work. Okay, without the added, and this is not so much I'm against a lot of work. I just figure if I can find a simplistic way of doing something, it's so much quicker to turn your life. Okay, we are taught from the get-go that change is difficult. Okay. Ultimately, they really are once you get to use them. What do we got here? Yeah. YJ's just saying the crystals are kind of like pre-tuned radio stations. Like the radios each have their own station and they end up communicating with each other. You know, the nice part, like, now I do that if I'm not planning on working with them in a hurry. I will tell you, if I've got a crystal that I require right away, and let's see if I can still see one here. Not from where I'm sitting. So I put that behind me. Oh, this one right here. Show you exactly the quickest way I've ever found to attune a crystal. Now, bear in mind, I've been doing this for, 49 years now. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a background in it. Okay, now, this is moldavite. Okay, from outer, this is part of a meteor. As a matter of fact, this one specifically came off the Czechoslovakian meteor impact zone. Okay, but I'll take that, and all I do is put it in the palm of my hand, just like that, close my hand on it, and concentrate for a few minutes, and let the energy soak in. In this fashion, I can discard anything I don't require from it and lock it into attunement with my own hand. Okay, now I've had other people locally that have done that to me. I've taken it to clear it, and I'll put it in the palm of my hand, just like that. And then I'll just close my hand over it, think about it for a few moments, open it up again, hand it to them, and they'll look at me and go, holy mackerel, it's working. And, like I said, 49 years of doing this pretty much gives you a little bit of a shortcut on occasion. Okay. What is this? Shadow's just going, my monkey brain improves. Now, I'm not sure what he did because I missed something there. I love the method there. Nathan goes, I use my techno-pagan method. I instruct the crystal to delete all info and purge anything left. Overwrite everything. That is an absolute fantastic idea. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. It would do that. Now, I am curious, Susie. Which crystal are you using which crystal were you using that all of a sudden seemed to light everything up for you? This is more a curiosity thing on my part than anything else at this point. Very few, actually. Yeah, moldavite is hard to come by, in all fairness, YJ. I just happen to know the person that brought it in. Oh, yeah, and that would. Moldavite is better at anchoring people, in my opinion, than what hematite is. But I suspect it's time I start looking at that too. Oh, that's terrible, YJ. Yeah, now we're going back to when I was living in the bar. This is just a bad idea. When I was living in the bar, a right round was the one that stopped at my table. But the whole 9 yards of this is you do whatever works to help put you on track to feel so you can feel like you're making headway. Okay. Now, here's one, and Shadow, you'll like this one. If I can reach it. No, of course I can't reach it. But for those of you, this is a bit of a sidetrack, obviously. For those of you that play D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, okay, this is a chap out of Skyrim. Now, with my crew, they were getting a little cocky. They have since died, and they had to get new characters because of things. But they were getting a little cocky. Right? So you take a look at this chap. Now, if you used to play Skyrim on the computer, okay, this is one of their critters. But here is the life-size figure for tabletop gaming. So they were killing everything haphazardly, randomly. Well, not exactly randomly. If it was there, they were killing it. Right? And I finally said, enough is enough. So I took these guys and put them up against this one. Now, as you can see, it didn't work out too well in their favor. Okay. But like with life, find whatever is working to make your system work properly. But pick one thing you're not content with. Okay. Yeah, that one, I got that. That's a collector's edition. And hearing that from you, Shadow, that's actually a real bonus. Thank you so much. This one, I stumbled across it and went, no, I'm taking it. So I did. But I keep it up here out of my way. So that I don't have to worry about it, getting broken or something to that effect. Oh no, that's way bigger than a Titan. If you think about it, I don't have it out here. If you think about it, actually, I should do that. Give me 5 seconds. I know exactly where it is. 5 seconds, guys. Be right back. Okay, guys. This will give you an idea of what I was working with. Okay. Just to put that in perspective. Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? Glad you could join us. There's your standard size figure. Okay, that's a full-size human. This is a cloud giant. Now, you see the comparison in height, where it comes up to basically just over the knee. Okay, now that is somebody, and this is what these guys were wiping out. Right, if they take out stone and they take out cloud giants or what have you, they were pretty decent level. So, we grabbed this little monster. Okay. And it puts it in perspective in a real hurry. Okay, this is that critter. And here is the cloud giant. Now, you notice the similarity in height. Okay, it's almost to the hip. So we are talking about critters that are absolutely humongous. Now, take a look at the barrel on that. Okay. This is what I'm talking about taking a look at your world. What are you content with? And what can you do with it? Well, the trick is this. Okay. First and foremost, you take a sheet of paper and write down what you see as something you're not content with in your life. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's we take a look at what do we got here. Go back up. Yeah, you take a look at it and start off with what amounts to a dream board. Get a goal that you're not content with, something that is not complete in your eyes. Whether it is something that you're trying to build yourself or something that you're striving to clear off. Write it out in point form. In the case of buying a house, and I know a few of you guys are looking to buy a home. Okay. Take a sheet of paper and you literally draw a square on it. That's all it requires. Just a square. Okay. And then inside the square, underneath it, this is my brand new home. Okay. Not I am trying to buy this, but I already own this home. Because all manifestation, all transformation starts with a thought. Okay, but we're not talking a thought here. We're talking a feeling from up in the upper realms. Call it your higher self, your God source, your totem. Doesn't matter. Okay. Whatever name you desire to put on it, use that name. Okay. In my case, I get these nagging little feelings that I've got to do something. It's kind of like a Wolverine that's just a little annoyed, which means he's awake. Going, you've got to get this done. Well, and I appreciate that, YJ. The reality is, when I said everything is connected, I'm not kidding. Okay. And the problem I ran into when I was growing up was I was doing this same thing when I was a kid. Actually, the ironic part is time does exist, but the clock time is absolutely necessary. Time exists as in the now, the later, and everything in between. Okay. But they are reference points and you cannot alter them. Realistically, you have now and you have later. Okay. Because the second you step one, realistically, you have now. Okay. But humans have been taught since the original building of them, were taught to gauge things on a time frame. Okay. But you have to have a reference to time in order to have communication at all. Okay. Even when 50,000 years ago, we were all mentally connected. We were not a hive mind. Okay. I understand what you're saying, YJ, but time and space are actually two different measurements. Okay, they really are, although they do calculate essentially the same way, at least from what I've seen. Now, I'm not telling you your view is wrong, because mine is not perfect. I'm still trying to figure out how to interact on this planet. But when I talk about things being all connected, you find something you're not content with. Now, I grew up being a professional procrastinator. Okay. And if you've got a goal in mind that you would like to deal with, okay, you're going to be dealing with it right here, right now. Because even if you put it down the road, even if you postpone it for a week, when you actually do something with it, you're in the here and now. Okay, this does not change. Now, for those of you that have been taught, okay, and I will put it this way, misguided, to believe that thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it, I will caution you. Okay, think of this. If thinking about doing something was as bad as doing it, let's put this in real time. Okay, I take this book. Now, this book is built on the premise that the world has already ended. Okay, now there's lots of books out there written like this. Okay, this is The Birth of the Wolf Pack. Okay, this is the one I've written. And the books that I have written, there's lots of people that have written, the world has come to an end. The world has fallen apart. Okay, if thinking about doing something is actually as bad as doing something, think of it. Okay, first of all, there's a lot of stories out there of how the world is already over. We're already finished. Mankind's been wiped out. I mean, what was the name of the show now? Sheep. There was a movie I watched a little while ago. I forget even the black guy's name, but he was the last living person on Earth. Somebody thought about that. Now, if that were the same, if that were as bad, okay. If that were as bad, thank you. That answered that, Susie. It was Will Smith that was the last person on Earth. Now, somebody clearly thought about the world being wiped out and all of mankind being gone. Okay. I remember a story when I was in elementary school or really early high school where society had collapsed and people were no longer living on Earth. They were living on Jupiter. Okay, which is a really neat idea. On Io, there are people living there. But if thinking about doing something is as good or as bad as doing it, then we start there. If you want to take it into adult terms, just think how many people would be pregnant right now or would be carrying kids because somebody thought about it, especially when adults are at the bar. How many people all of a sudden would find themselves pregnant overnight with no interaction because somebody thought about it. Okay. This is the real. Oh, Groot he's a hoot. His language is a bit little, and that would be the answer. See, I remember parts, and I usually forget names in case you hadn't noticed. Okay, but this is where you guys are really, really handy. Okay, and it's really appreciated that you can fill in the holes. But if we think in terms of if thinking about it is as bad as doing it, then we have a problem. Okay. Of course, we can look at the other side. If thinking about it is as bad as doing it, then thinking about it is as good as doing it. Okay. So, with that in mind, bad news, Shadow. Scientists about 15 years ago proved that a male can, and why they figured this out, I have no idea. But about 15 years ago, the scientists figured out, and they tested it. A male can carry a child, can carry a child to term. Now, granted, it has to be fertilized before it gets inserted into the male's peritoneal cavity. But then it can grow. Okay, Adam, first and foremost, okay, there's a couple of things if you desire to get into working with crystals. Okay, the first things first, understand or accept, you don't have to understand, accept that they do talk to you and you can hear them. Okay, there are a couple of crystals I would strongly recommend that you look at and that you look into picking up first. Now, where do you pick them up? You'll have to find the shop in your area. Okay. Any area that deals with tarot cards, with astrology, okay, with even any place that you find somebody that is claiming to be a psychic reader, okay, they will know where you can find crystals, or at least that would be the theory. Okay, but hematite is a really good one for grounding. Okay, picking up either malachite, which is a green stone with black striations, or striations, I'm not sure which, or citrine, which is an orangish colored rock. It's an orangish colored stone, a crystal that has a lot of quartz in it. Those two are great for amplifying finances. Okay. As a matter of fact, I should make a note of that. And of course, your chevron amethyst, okay, is again another stone that is really good to start with. These are just a couple of the real basic ones that you can work with. Where am I here? Okay. Yeah, I shouldn't be looking that. Yeah, Himalayan salt is another one that's great for purifying. Eric, you're always Eric says, I am legend. That was the name of the story of the show. Thank you. I was looking at that on the other side. I know of some people that look in the mirror and go, I am legend. I'm the best. I'm the best thing there is. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. I'm right. It's like I tell people, I was wrong once. I thought I wasn't wrong. I thought I was wrong and I wasn't. But the reality is I've made more miscalculations than I care to count. But those are some of the crystals, Adam, that I would strongly recommend that you start with. There's also, like I said, for me personally, it's a pinkish colored book or light purple, depending on how your eyes work, called Love is in the Earth. Okay. And that book is the best one I've personally come across. You can get one with the pictures or without, but that's the best book in the book that I personally work with, because I am not a gemologist. I am not that versed in all of the different aspects. Okay. Absolutely, YJ. It's funny. YJ was just saying being wrong is the bridge to being right if you decide to cross it. It is easier, and it's been proven time and again throughout history. It is easier to tear something apart than it is to put it back together. You take a look at modern medicine. Okay. It was learned. Modern anatomy was learned by people taking corpses, usually, and pulling them apart to take a look at the organs. Now, sadly, it got into some pretty brutal periods. Eric's just saying here, in the case of Manly P. Hall, are thoughts populated dimension we have to cross through after death or when traveling astrally? And, what I found there is after death, I've been there often enough. Okay. We all, and when I say all of us, whether you happen to be, whether you're religious, whether you're male, female, animal, vegetable, mineral, elemental, we all, if we've got a soul, we go to the same place. Okay. So yes, if you've got pets that have passed away, okay, they are likely to be there, depending on how long ago. They are likely to be there for a period, for a time when you get there. Yeah, I'm glad you're asking Joe that there, YJ. Hey, Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And like I said, you desire to change your life. Let's get started on it. Pick one thing you're not content with and make an adjustment. Okay. Now, to give you an idea, I was in the middle of writing. I was in the middle of talking about some of what I was writing, and a comment was made. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Glad you could make it. I was talking to my editor. We were doing a little bit of editing, and I came across one spot. And one of the primary characters in the Yldrbac Chronicles is a chap by the name of Dirk. Okay, his whole name is actually Dirk Waterstone. Okay, but I'm writing this out, and it's like, all of a sudden it dawned on me that would be the heck of a name for a new group. Okay, for a rock group, post-apocalyptic. Dirk and the Survivors. So what did I do today? I stopped long enough. I was sitting down, was just having a bite to eat, and I started writing. I'm writing this chapter that will end up is somewhere in about the middle of or near the end of, I'm not sure which, after the midpoint probably, of the main battle. Okay, where everything's being set back together. I wrote a chapter literally called Dirk and the Survivors about this post-apocalyptic group of misfits that simply got together to put a band together just as a way to relax. Now, remember the old saying, music soothes the savage breast. What that means is literally what I've talked to you about. If you're fighting depression, if you're really low on energy, find the fastest paced dance music you can find. Crank it as high as socially acceptable. That increased vibratory rate will have a positive impact on your mood, on your energy levels. Okay. Well, the neat part there, YJ, is skepticism isn't what leads. The funny thing is the skepticism doesn't lead to discovery. In my experience, curiosity leads to discovery. Skepticism leads to quantifiable, replicatable proof. I can't prove it, so I'm going to go out and replicate the same thing. I will tell you, I made the mistake, and I never went and deliberately put my hand back there. I did find out that if you're not paying attention and you put your hand on the burner on the stove, and you don't pay attention to which burner it's on, you turn on the stove, that thing will get warm enough to hurt. Now, I suggest nobody tries this again. I did it once, and I kid you not, I'm all of a sudden going, what is that terrible smell? I recognize it, it's familiar. And I looked down, and all the way around my hand, because my hand was in the middle of a big burner, and all the way around the hand, you could see a red hot burner. And I'm like, ow. So I pulled my hand off. I pulled my hand off the burner. That sounded bad. I was lucky. I never scarred. Okay. But I burned it so badly. I had second-degree burns around the whole hand. But I never managed to actually scar from it. Also didn't end up with real critical problems. Although, in all fairness, that's a debate. You think about it, try putting your hand... No, do not do that. Unfortunately, some people will listen to a statement, they'll take it right out of context and do something absolutely ridiculous. So when you figure out something you're not content with, this is how to transform your life. Right here, right now. Figure out something you're not personally content with and shift it. Alter what you're doing with it. So the energy changes direction and you can now accomplish more than what you had been doing. The more clutter you get out of the way, the better off you are. Now, here's the thing. Okay, like I said, we've been taught that change is difficult, change is painful, change is scary. Okay, if that were in fact the case, you guys would all be writhing on the ground in pain right now. Because every thought you have is a change. Every time you hear something different, it is a change. Now, here's how difficult it can be. Okay, I've got this guy down on my desk. Now, I don't like him there. So, I'm going to change it. I'm going to put him where he's useful. Okay, we put him back up here out of the way. Oh, son of a... Okay, and that is exactly why I use a cane when I'm walking. Ouch. That was painful. So I don't think we'll do that again. And yes, that hurt like you wouldn't believe, but we're just not going to do that. I'm going to put this back under my desk. There is a reason I tell people that I have a bit of a hiccup with my leg. And that would be the one. And we'll just settle for ow. Honestly, YJ, that's very much the case. Okay, where are we? Missed a couple of things. Okay. Yeah, in all fairness there, Eric, you're right. Way back, people used to pay much more attention to the energy fields, and that's how they figured out where they were going. Because the animals did the same thing. Net result, you had all kinds of game trails that the animals followed because they could feel that being the best way to go. Yeah, the bad part there, Joe, is that was a painful way to change. Do not do that, okay? Just a recommendation. But what you just saw there is exactly why I quit putting garlands up at Christmas. Because I can't get back. Well, obviously I can get down. Obviously I can get down. But unfortunately, the leg doesn't always cooperate. Just looking at what's going on here. See, many of these musicians are being talked about in the chat room right now. Sorry, I grew up country. Of course, that didn't go over very well in a community where virtually everybody was into the rock and roll side of things. But you pick something you're not content with, and you alter where it is so you are content with it. Like I was saying there until I got so brutally interrupted by my own stupidity. I know better than to do that. I really do. You noticed I managed to get 2 or 3 trips up on that stool first. Oh yeah, I'm fine there, Maggie. I had it happen one day. It was really funny in a way. Hurt like Dickens, but the leg gave out in public. My femur was sitting straight. My fibia and my fibia and tibia were pointing that at a 90-degree angle. My foot was still upright, right? And I'll tell you, it's a real showstopper for people. Painful as all get out putting back in. But you take a look at what you're not content with. What do we got here? And Joe saying, I recognize that robot. Oh, that robot there, Joe, is from a video game. It's from a reasonably modern video game, Skyrim. You find those things. They're dwarven construct, and you'll find them in the crypts and in the catacombs underneath the different locations. I quit playing Skyrim after I had my stroke in 2018 because I couldn't get my left thumb to work or my left hand to work properly. But that's where that one comes from, Joe. I actually picked it up when I got the collector's edition of Morrowind. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's no fun, is it there, Eric? Mine does that, and the problem is mine heals so fast, it can bruise black and blue. And by the next morning, the bruising is gone. That's just the reality behind it. I'm just happy it doesn't fold the way my buddy's does, where the foot will come up over the front of the leg, which, by the way, is really, really painful there, too. But you take a look at whatever goal it is, whatever you're aiming at, and you start altering everything, you start moving things out of the way. If it doesn't assist you in getting that task completed, alter the layout of it. Alter what's there. Like with my office. Okay. I've got my paper here that I've got notes for that I'll be working on right away. Okay, but like this. Now, what I think this has already been moved over. I gotta go back because this should be in book 7. Okay, I was down at the restaurant and wrote a storyline that takes place in a book that won't be out for, well, book 7 is probably going to be 5 or 6 years down the road. But this is what I mean by I'm writing them all at the same time. Yeah. And if anybody ever has this situation, I would love to hear about it. I know that everybody that deals in the metaphysical world would love to hear about it. If any one of you ever has a leg collapse that all of a sudden finds you pinned to the roof because you didn't fall down, you fell up, let us know. It would be a riot to see what kind of reactions we get. I know there was one chap that I know of that literally went skydiving twice before he had it checked. Went skydiving down in the Central States where his parachute candled. And instead of bouncing off the ground, he landed gently. So does it happen? Certainly. I wouldn't recommend pushing the limits, personally. You know, from my standpoint, I can't see a good reason to get out of a perfectly good aircraft. But take a look at the goals that you have. Okay, and I mean just pick one. One of my biggest goals is to get all of this mess out of here. All the clutter out of here, and it is going in case you hadn't noticed. Okay, but by making that effort, by putting that stuff down, first of all, on the dream board, as in this is the big goal, then you break it down into smaller goals. Okay, you break it down into tasks that are 15 minutes to half an hour long. Okay, and the reason you do that is to stay on track with striving to get rid of bits and pieces. If you take care of the little things, okay, you will transform your life. Okay. This is going to sound really bad there, Eric. I'm presuming you're referring to you were strictly country and classical until 1975. Because I don't think you're 75 years old yet. If you are, you're doing absolutely phenomenal. You know, but you reclaim, you reclaim power over your life by dealing with the things that are holding you back. Anything that is not contributing to your success is going to be a problem. Well, let's face it. The whole catch is this. In my opinion, it's just a philosophy of life I came by there, Eric. No matter who you are, no matter what species, what race, what gender, it doesn't matter. You're going to get older. Okay? You're absolutely going to get older. Whether you get old or not is your choice. Because in my, I identify as 25. See, I still figure I'm 20 with 49 years experience. Sorry, with 39 years experience. What do we got? Joe's going, countless times in the summer in the cemetery, I'd ride my electric scooter listening on my iPhone to the rock bands Dokken, a specific song, Don't Close Your Eyes. See, when I walked when I went walking in the cemetery when I was younger, I remember I went out with a bunch of people. They wanted to have a metaphysical experience. So I turned around and went, okay. So we went out to the gravesite. Didn't do anything wrong. Okay, didn't walk on any of the graves. We were just walking around the gravesite. Well, because of the side of it, I ended up separated from them. And on a whim, and Lord knows why I did it. Looking back on it, not a nice thing. But I crouched down behind a big tomb and cut loose with a wolf howl. Well, when I came back out, everybody's wide-eyed. They're like, did you hear that? And it's like, hear what? Everybody's like, the wolf hole and the wolf howl. There's a wolf around here somewhere. Now understand, in city limits, you don't run into purebred wolves. You just don't. Okay. Yeah, that's what they keep telling me. The dead, I mean. But no, I come back and everybody was there except one guy had vanished. Right? He just disappeared altogether. Well, we finally found him back in the car that we had come in, hanging on white knuckled, hanging on white knuckled to the steering wheel. Doors were all locked, and he was just absolutely chalk faced. Right. Apparently, I ended up scaring the daylights out of him. The reality of it is that whatever you're striving to do, whatever you're striving to change in your life, you're the one that has the power to change it. Now, you can buy into the idea of fearing everything. You can absolutely focus on the idea, if you choose to, that you can go back in time and correct things. And understand something. Number one, from everything I've come across, regardless of what people are telling you, okay, the one thing I will sit here and tell you wholeheartedly has never worked and doesn't work, okay, is moving something into the past. You can't go back. You can go forward. And then it doesn't reappear. You just catch up to it. Okay. Yeah, you notice that too, Carl? I used to, when I was 20, right? I would travel through a whiteout where I couldn't see the bumper, where I couldn't see the hood of my car. And I'd be clipping off at 100 miles an hour without even blinking, or 120 in kilometers-ish, without even blinking. Now, I don't go over 50 and I don't drive in the snow, period. Not if I can avoid it. I'm lucky though. I really am. So many of you are looking at your life going, I've only got so much time and I don't know how much time I've got left. So I feel like I've got to get these things done. I'm telling you, time is overrated in that respect. I look at it going, I was pronounced dead at 5. So I'm just living on ripped off time, as it were. What do we go here? Joe's just saying, Keith, I never hear cryptids or the dead or any of that. Is there a way you can train yourself to hear them? The reality of it is yes. Okay. The first thing you have to realize is that you've trained yourself not to hear them is the real kicker to it. Okay. The easiest answer I can give you, and sadly the most cryptic, is forget you don't know how to hear them. Okay. But when you're out and about and you're listening for them, okay, you listen beyond you literally teach yourself to listen beyond the sounds you recognize. Okay, if you recognize the wind and you can go, okay, that's a sound of wind going through the trees. So I'm going to ignore that one. We teach ourselves as we're going along to ignore things we're looking at, to ignore what we're hearing. And in all fairness, your parents, their parents, and so on and so forth, taught them exactly the same thing. Ever hear the term when you've got a child around you where the parent all of a sudden goes, oh, that's a nice imagination, Junior. Now it's time to grow up. Like imagination doesn't work when you're an adult. Okay. In all honesty, Joe, like Joe's just asking, could the voices in my head be their voices? Quite often, and quite honestly, that is often the case. You'll hear a voice that you can't quite figure out where it comes from. And that's one of your guides. It might be a dead individual, as in a ghost. might be any number of things, but it's not something that you can pin down. As soon as you don't have a quantifiable answer. Okay, I like the way that Spock in the original Star Trek put it. When you eliminate all logical possibilities, however illogical the answer may seem, is the answer. Okay. Angels, how you doing? Glad to see you. Glad you could join us. You know, the reality of it is when you're listening for different things, let your imagination picture what it may be like. For instance, listening to the trees. I first learned how to listen to them by putting my hand on the trunk, on the actual bark, and just feeling and imagining what that would feel like. Much like if you put your hand on your throat or on your wrist, okay, you can feel your pulse. It's the same kind of a feeling. Once I could feel that, it was much easier for me to tell if a plant was alive. And it's that communication line that all of a sudden opens doors and you start hearing. Now, I will warn you, you will question whether or not you're losing your mind in the process. But without exception, every psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, and student of the above sciences, okay, or practices, every one of them, without exception, has said the same thing. When I asked them, how can you tell if you're losing your mind? Without exception, they go, if you're asking, are you losing your mind? The answer is no. Because if you were losing your mind, you wouldn't be asking because you wouldn't recognize it. What do we got here? YJ is I'm just looking back up a bit here. The one time I heard a voice in my head, it was a very angry growl, a room where someone had attempted suicide a day before. I was there to open the windows and chase the bad energy out. It was funny. I lived in a house that there was somebody that was murdered in. And I looked at her and I just went, okay, enough is enough. Now, okay, you died. Sucks to be you. You probably shouldn't have stayed with the person that long in the first place. Now, quit taking it out on everybody else. And I deal with them the same way I deal with other people, which might give you an idea why I say social skills are not my strong suit. Okay, but take a look at where your life is. Are you content with what your life is looking like? Like, am I content with my wardrobe? Honestly, not really. One of these days, I got to get off my tail feathers and actually go do something about it. Because you'll notice not leaving the house and not ordering things online isn't working well. Okay, my wardrobe really hasn't changed a whole lot. Oh, and that was one of those things I keep saying I'm going to be doing that, and then I get sidetracked. Saint's just asking about the purple aliens. And I do know I have them listed, but I'll show you something here. No, I'm not going to get up on another stool. We ain't doing that. Okay, but when I said I've got notes on this stuff. Okay. Whoop. Don't need that. I need... Okay. See this stack of paper? This is all loose leaf notes that I've got to go through. Okay. And I've got a whole box of them over there. This is why it's taking me time. But that's only about half of what it was. Okay, and this is why I say, when we're looking at the races of the worlds. Okay, volume one, I'm about a third of the way through expanding, but I've worked it out. I'm making really good headway on it. Okay, because I've got to get the pictures done before I can release it. But there's a whole pile of new races I've got listed in book 2, and I just don't have them all memorized. So I've got I've got to clear that. I've got to get the, I think that's on my list already. Look way back up here. That's a different thingamies. Where the heck are we? Well, since you can't find it, we'll just do it this way. Just make sure that we get this done tonight. I'm going to go back through the information I've got on that is already in soft copy and put a short list together of various different ships. Okay, and just a real quick short list, not with all the information on the same pages. Okay, but get a list together so that when people ask that sort of question, because it's a common one, I ran into this general configuration. What race was it? And, I've got a lot of them documented, but let's face it, I've only got about 100, 110 that are actually documented in a quantifiable form, but that I am aware of. There are in excess of 2,500 different races. So clearly, do I know them all? Absolutely not. Okay. When I talk about not going around people a whole lot, that includes the off-worlders as much as I can avoid. What do we got here? By nobody the caution. Yeah, that is very much the case there, YJ. Hey, little Katie, I didn't see you sneak in. At least I don't think so, or I saw you earlier and forgot, which was being not unheard of. Okay. But I do have on my list of stuff that, what do we got? That Aussie, try to remember which one. I'll know them when I see it again. Is looking for information on certain stones. And this is why I say, where are we here? Oh, glad to hear that, Nathan. Sorting things out I can do, but sometimes what I get is a partial picture or a partial piece of information that I unfortunately cannot give. There's too many variables involved to give a solid. It can give an indicator. Okay. But I will tell you the one thing I won't tell people, and I saw somebody do it the other day, not in this chat room, but in another chat room, where I was in the chat room and somebody said, well, this is what I was told by this person, right? The person and the respondent didn't even bother asking for information. They just went, that person you were talking to was lying to you. Okay, and I will tell you this. What I remember of it is they had mentioned that there was a type of alien in Area 51 that they had heard of. Okay, that there had been experiments being done on, etc., and that they had seen in a test tube. And this other guy goes, the friend that told you about that is lying. I will not tell you guys that you're lying. Okay. I will do what I can to help clarify from what I've seen. This does not mean I'm perfect. It does not mean I'm the only one with the answers. Okay. And understand many of the different races. And this is one of the adjustments that I've had to do with Races of the World. Okay. There are three, and now the names of the races in this book. There are three ways I get them. Okay. One is they tell me exactly what they call their race. Okay. Two is they tell me what the race is, and I do the best I can to identify via the syllables that I can make out and put a name together that fits. And the third type the third way I can come up with a name is I need something to refer to it as. So until I hear otherwise, I'm simply going to use this name. Okay. And this is one of those things that I will be going through as I'm expanding volume 1 here. And by the way, I will be changing the title of the book from Races of the Worlds to Races of the Worlds Volume 1. Okay. I wasn't actually expecting it to work out quite the way it did. Whoops. This is that neat thing where I have to hand this off. I know she's going in the middle of online. Okay. So, yeah. You saw that conversation there, Joe. And the reality of it is, calling somebody a liar, and I see this way, way, way too often, even in the UFO community. Adam, how you doing? So you finally made it to Saskatoon. Well, I'm glad you're safe. What's the weather doing out there? Presumably it's winter, so you should be under a whole pile of snow, I'm thinking. So I mean, all in all, it's amazing how many people in the UFO community that I've run into that will do that. Oh, -5 isn't bad. I mean, we're doing good. We broke the 0 mark today. We were sitting at 3 or 4. But no, the reality of it. Yeah. Well, that's because there are very few people I'm going to talk to. There are only 2 that I will take the phone call right here. Right. And that way, well, there's 3. My other half doesn't tend to phone. She'll text. But if either of my kids were to phone, I will answer the phone and everybody can go on hold because they are my dominant concern. The nice part about it is, what do we got here? YJ's going, whoops, sure, move up. The tactic, give 9 obvious truths, slip in 1 falsehood. Yeah, and somebody's going to see it. Yeah. Eric says, I had a disembodied voice say, excuse me, in an accent reminiscent of the production of Oliver Twist in the wee hours of the morning ones. Yeah, if you're a night shifter, you're going to be up. My problem is, like last night, I went to bed at 12:30. I was up at 3:30. Not necessarily a good way of doing things, but hey, what the heck? Well, apparently Kent isn't quite accurate, but I do agree with you, Carl. My parents used to say, if you've never walked a mile in that person's shoes, you cannot assess their life effectively. Which is how I ended up in a twisted form of logic. That's how I got into the drugs and alcohol. But I will not tell somebody, oh, you're wrong or you're lying about this. Because number one, I wasn't there when it happened. Okay. Like I was sent a picture and I wonder, I know the picture's sitting right there. So let's take a peek at it. Yeah. And I'm not going to try and get you to see it. Okay. But Kimberly out of the chat room there sent me this photo. Now, I doubt you can see much of it. Oh, you can a little. That's the photo she sent me. Okay. Now, because of the configuration, it looks really heavy on the Martokian side. Okay, because of the dome, and you can't see much of it here. But because of the dome on top of it, okay, it looks very Martokian in nature. But you'll see the lines down here. Okay, those are all colored lights. And Martokians don't have colored lights on the bottom of their ships, but the Talons do. So I mean, I look at it when somebody comes to me with an issue, okay, and says, look, this is what I'm going through. I'm not going to sit there and tell you, you're wrong. That didn't happen. That was why I fired one editor. They literally told me that my opinion was wrong, and that is absolutely an impossibility. Okay. The facts you're basing your opinion on can be wrong. The conclusions you come to based on the information you've got could be really badly misled, but your opinion cannot be wrong. Okay. But I will tell you, if you're not content with the way your life is, okay, you absolutely, yeah, no doubt. you know, you absolutely, if you're not content with the way your life is, identify what you're not content with and make a shift in the energy around that. Move the stuff out of the way to enable the energy to flow a little bit more smoothly. And the first place to do that is right wherever you're sitting. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you're up to, whatever's not working properly for you. Okay, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. If you're driving, absolutely remain focused on driving, because if you don't, you're going to stop driving in a really annoying fashion, in all likelihood. Now let's just hit rewind, or not rewind, refresh, and see what my numbers are like. What is this? YJ just goes, I always laugh when people say, it can't be a UFO. It can't be a UFO if it has red and green lights. Because I'm a fly fisherman. I rely on trout saying no way that's a hook. Because it has wings and legs. I get a kick out of that. But I will tell you this. UFO, I love the term for it, and now they're trying to change the term. But here's the kicker. UFO, unidentified flying object. Okay. Unidentified aerial phenomenon. What's the difference? Other than you don't have as many UFOs, because now you call them something else. Okay. I heard that I was supposed to be dead. Quite frankly, Joe, I don't doubt that that's what you've heard. But your circadian rhythms are tied to the planet upon which you're living, not to the planet in the neighborhood. Okay. And the reality of it is this. If your circadian rhythms were balanced out by what's going on Mars, you would run into major conflicts because the moon is closer. Okay. So you would end up with a lot more rhythmic problems. But no, the circadian method or the circadian rhythm of your body is tuned to the planet upon which you're living. Okay. It is a proven fact, by the way. And I call it a proven fact because the number of people I've talked to that have journeyed to different worlds. Okay. If you're going in a starship, your circadian rhythm gets actually matched to the engine thrum of the ship you're on. And it takes a little bit of time. It varies from person to person, but it takes a little bit of time for your rhythm to adjust to the new place that you're settling. So if you go from Earth to the moon, okay, during the time you're in transit, okay, your rhythm will still be, because it's not that long, it's only a few days. Okay, your rhythm is still going to be attuned to Earth. But once you set foot on the moon, your rhythm starts adjusting to it. I like myself. I used to fish. I used to fish off the dock until one day, because I was fishing bullhead, right? And then one day I'm fishing bullhead, and I toss the hook out. And if you know anything about fish, bullhead are only that long, sort of thing. But when you're 9 years old, that can be a pretty vicious, pretty heavy fight. So I'm drawing these things in, I catch them, and I release them again. I was 9 years old. I wouldn't even consider doing catch and release at this point. But what stopped me from fishing was I was off the dock, and all of a sudden my rod went like this. Okay, because something got a hold of it. So I fought to bring it in. The rod did not snap, thankfully. Right. Okay. I will. What do we got? Something flew over my house, low and slow, and it was huge from beneath. Shaped like Star Wars Star Destroyer, pointy triangle. Okay. That's the easy part, Joe. What you're describing there is a consortium scanner ship. Okay. And what I mean by that, like a consortium scout ship, if you will, was checking your area out. Now, no, this does not mean you're in danger of being abducted. Okay. It literally means they are simply taking note of what's going on in your area. But so I mean that's what you're looking at. Okay, that would be my first, without having been there, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Those are the people that govern, and they may have been coming around to check on somebody else in your area, including Sasquatch. Okay, they may have been coming down just to take a look and see what's going on. What do we got here? Okay. Yeah, and but no, when I was fishing, it was neat. The rod bent over, so I fought with it for the longest time and finally got the thing up. Okay, but what was on the end of my hook was a 3-foot long hammerhead. Okay, very fascinating fish, but I'll tell you, cured my wanting to fish. Yeah, when you take a look at them, where are we here? YG, that's why I saw two, Joe, in a dream in '92. A fleet of them flew over Kelowna. Yeah, back in '92. Just trying to think what I was doing. That was 10 years ago. Yeah, 11 years ago. Yeah, so I mean, and I was here at that point. I'm wondering if if I remember that event correctly, YJ, did they not stop just over time, like disappear just out by Winfield there? Because I know right after that event, there were black helicopters all over the neighborhood here. Okay, now, Eric, I gotta ask, do you by any chance, when you usually have the manta, the dreams of the manta shaped craft, okay, are you by any chance near a large body of water? Because I will tell you, the manta shaped craft, okay, are designed by the sea elephant, okay, and they are used for transporting humans nowadays down to their world, down to their cities to communicate and interact with them. And this is why I tell people, okay, humans keep going, oh, if we ever get attacked, we'll just fight the aliens off. People are not technologically equipped. Okay. And yes, by the way, the sea elephant are capable in today's world. They have evolved their technologies, okay, to the point where they can go airborne. Yeah. I have no idea which way west is. you know, the nice part about it is the one thing that we know for an absolute certainty, okay, is that when we're talking, whether we're talking aliens, UFOs, off-worlders, ancient races, your life, okay, you're the one that has control over whether or not you're going to go down that road, whether you're going to change your life for the better. Okay. I went down to my printer a couple of days ago and ordered a new batch of my children's book, Mr. Dreamcatcher. Okay. To make sure that I have them available. And I've already got Races of the Worlds in stock, the first printing. Okay, I haven't finished doing the second yet. But when you're looking at your life, okay, it's up to you to start making the changes. You can talk to anybody you desire, but until you get off the tail feathers and start making things happen, your life will continue on the path it currently is. You've heard the idea of an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion until acted upon by an outside source. Okay. Well, your life will continue on the path it's on until you decide you're no longer going to live in fear of that issue. You're not going to continue living in fear of things changing. Your life is going to change. And if change causes pain, aside from what happened with my leg there, you think about it. I've got my hand right here now. This should be excruciating, okay, because it's moving from one location to another. It's changing. If you're not content with it, with the way your life is, then it's time to start working at changing it. This is why I've gone back, I've written a number of books, as we know, and the reality of it is, it's those methods that I take a look at. Okay, those are the ones that I personally live by. Okay, and this is why I say I know they work. It's because of the fact that I put them to use. And I'm quite content with the way things are going right now. Now, I don't think that's doing me any good. Let's see. That can be deleted because I really don't require it. But let's refresh that and see what pops up. See, I'm waiting on a couple of emails that people have said they were going to send me, which they haven't. But this is why I say everything is absolutely, everything is absolutely interconnected. Okay, let's clear something up there for everybody. Okay, Carl's has just stated in the chat room here, an object infers a physical solid, whereas a phenomenon infers an occurrence which could be solid or possibly something else, possibly interdimensional at the same time. Let's clear one little concept up, and this may be an issue of terminology. I'm still working on that. Everything that comes into existence that you ever witness in this world, okay, in this reality, every single thing you witness is third dimensional. Now, some of it will be vibrating at a much higher pace so you can't see it. It's like if you take a look at my hand, okay, pretty easy to see until I start doing something like this, at which point it's vibrating too fast to track, right? This is why things fade. Okay. But when they slow down, that is when all of a sudden you have the visible acuity to see them. Have you ever noticed somebody walking through a mall where they seem to be weaving in and out of an open space? What's going on there are people walking along that are vibrating so fast that other people can't see them. Those individuals. Hey world, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Now I'm presuming, and ultimately, I will tell you, YJ, what you're likely to find. Do you astral travel yet? Okay, because I will tell you this. That harmonic resonance levitation that you've been looking like, okay, does work. But the first thing you're going to likely find it does, you look at that, we're up to 20 again in the chat room. okay, what you'll find happen, and it's one of those things about modifying reality. By modifying that harmonic resonance, you can actually cause yourself to levitate, or other objects for that matter. Okay, it's what I've come to understand as 0 point energy. Okay, and we've got people coming and going, and I know there's more people that are listening than what are in the chat room. This is pretty much black and white. Oh, that's okay. Just be careful. Don't go astral traveling. Whatever if you're going to astral travel, that's fine. You can be clumsy with it. Let's face it, when people learn to ride a bicycle, they're clumsy to start with. When you're remembering how to change the path your life is on, it's not going to be a smooth transition in all likelihood. You may be one of the lucky people that this happens with. Okay, but the real kicker to it is to take a look at what you're doing and go, okay, I'm not trying this, because there's a neat little concept. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Okay, but there is a flip side to that, because the moment you say try, you're admitting the possibility and thereby creating that same potential reality of failure. So when you go, I'm going to try to do this, you're already setting yourself up with a barrier. I like the other one that I personally operate with. When at first you do succeed, go do something else. The moment I started telling myself that I would, that my memory for names was getting stronger, it started getting stronger. Okay, I no longer forget everybody I meet. There's a few of them I would like to, but hey, I'm sure we all have that problem. Yep. That, for what it's worth, YJ, that's actually normal. Okay. That's actually normal, feeling a little disoriented. You get out, you're astral traveling, and all of a sudden, bang. Ever notice you get back into your body too fast? It feels like you put your clothes on backwards and you just can't walk or see straight or anything. Okay. That's when you take a couple of minutes to reorganize your head. Okay. But when you're looking at changing your life, it boils down to identifying what you're not content with and making adjustments to it. Okay. But you're the one that's got the ability to do it. Certainly, talk to somebody that either knows how to do it or, and has done it successfully before you embark on that project. Or be prepared to learn to do things. When I talk about doing it the hard way is going through a hedge maze with your eyes closed. Okay. And you're trying to find your way, so you put your hand on the wall and just until you work along until you find a gap. Okay. This works like a charm. But I will tell you, if somebody else can can draw a map out and go, follow this road, it's a lot easier to go through it. Eric, my preferred method is simple. Okay, but we'll go back to how I originally started remembering how. Literally what I did was I got into a comfortable position while I'm wide awake. Okay, do not try this when you're tired, because what happens, you'll get a fabulous sleep, right? But you find a comfortable position, and by the way, the lotus position does not equate to fun and comfortable from my end. Okay. Eternity, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Find a comfortable position. Okay. Close your eyes, lean back, and just feel your heartbeat. And I don't mean put your hand on your throat or on your wrist. I mean, just sit there and concentrate till you can feel your heart itself beat. Okay. Once you've got a lock on it, stay focused on that and let your concentration track the pulse all the way out as far as you can. Okay. Now, it depends on how things go. Somewhere in the middle of that, you're going to start to feel a separation. You're going to start to lose connection with the outer surfaces of your body. This is because you're lifting out of your body. Now, do not pay attention to that sensation. And that's something you've got to remind yourself as you're going along. Okay, because you let go of that concentration. Oh, I'm losing grip. Yes, you are. You may hear almost like a tearing sound, like Velcro coming apart. Okay, while that's going on. That is your body and your soul separating. But you will automatically, okay, when you were a child, you automatically built an umbilical cord in so you'll be able to find your body and come back to it. Okay, it's kind of along the lines of a rubber band in a lot of ways. Okay, so what you do is that's the method I use if I'm striving to get out. Okay, or more to the point, that's how I used to do it. Now, in my case, I can feel the pulse all the way down to the tip of my hair. Now, clearly, the hair does not contain blood. Okay, so what I'm actually feeling is the shock wave of the pulse. But that's the method that I personally use, but do it when you're awake. Okay, make sure you turn off any externals, like don't have the TV running, don't have your cell phone or the radio turned on where you can hear it, because those sounds will become louder as you go. These are just some of the techniques. Now, the neat part about this is something that most people don't tend to realize. You can do that same maneuver and thereby, and this is the one I'm personally working on, getting out of my body is easy. Okay. The one that's really going to be really neat when I can manage to remember how to do it, and I've done it periodically, is you're sitting there and you're just relaxed and you're feeling the separation. What I'm working on personally is to separate one limb so I can reach out and grab my coffee cup without moving my hands. Now, this would also be translated into psychokinesis, mind over matter. Okay, use your mind to affect the physical world around you. And that would make total sense there. Eric's just said the few times I have come close, there's a whooshing sound and a feeling of tumbling. Okay, and that's very much the case. That whooshing sound is because as you come out of your physical body, you're hearing the space between atoms. You're hearing what some scientists have called solar wind. But that solar wind is also carried on the quantum field, on the subquantum field. Okay. Yeah. The neat part there, YJ, is when you're out, animals can sense you moving faster than humans do. Because animals aren't, on the whole, they are not restricted by what people have said you cannot do. But I do agree with Carl here. Famous Yoda words, don't try, do. One of the quickest tricks to remembering how to astral travel, okay, is literally forget you don't know how. Okay, I know that sounds cryptic, but it actually is very much the case. Okay, but again, this is one of those things where changing the direction your life is going is done by you looking at it going, I'm not content with the way it is. Therefore, I'm going to change it. Nightmare, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is you've got the choice. You can continue doing as you've been taught and fear the future. you can fear there is going to be some sort of retribution, some sort of disastrous cataclysm that wipes us all out once again. Or you can go, okay, I'm here, right now, and I'm going to make the most of what I've got. Now, I am happy to say that I finally got, not yesterday, but the day before, I finally got an inquiry off of my website regarding the books. Okay, I still haven't, and this is what I mean by I spent a fortune on them to virtually no avail. What do we got here? Ultimately correct, world. It's like this. Okay, I desire to finish and getting him painted. Well, my suspicion is it's not going to happen if I don't pick up the paints. Okay, he's been sitting there all day and he has not changed the color of his clothing at all. YJ, so glad you could join us. Have yourself a good evening. The reality of it is, if we are going to change this world, if you are going to change your world, this is the time to do it. Okay, it's just that simple. Now, I know we're getting down to the end here, and I'm just going to throw this back out there. If you haven't done so already, and you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. And absolutely, if you'd be kind enough to hit that subscribe button down in the bottom right-hand corner, okay, that would be really appreciated as well. And of course, share the message to everybody that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But it's going to take effort. It's going to take time. This world did not end up in its current state because the elites decided to, because the Illuminati or some other hidden organization, aliens, God, nobody created this problem except mankind. And quite frankly, pointing the finger at other people is not helping. Okay. Even this idea of looking at people and going, oh, you're a different color, makes you a worse person. This doesn't work that way. Every one of you is just as important, just as spiritually valuable as the next. Okay. And this is something that we really have to. Oh, that's fine. My hill giant's out front. Should actually remember to bring that one. I'm just going to mark that down so I can bring it tomorrow. Wait a minute. Nope. Tomorrow is. I think tomorrow's Thursday, is it not? I know my days are just completely screwed up. Yeah, today's Wednesday, so tomorrow I won't be here. But I do have a hill giant that I finished a while back that I'll show you what I did with it. I've got it listed to have it sitting in here for Friday's show. But, this is why I say with world, not with world, my apologies. Or maybe it is. But, with world, with him painting the hill giant, I will make sure that on Friday, once I get off here, I will move it out here so I've got it. Because like I said, that's a frost giant. I've got to get finished with him. But, if we are going to choose to change our life and change this world, it is going to be done in the here and now. Okay. So, whatever you do, pick a task that you're not, pick a situation in your life you're not content with. Okay. And once you do that, like I said, write it down on paper. Okay. And all it boils down to is giving it a short description to say, this is accomplished. Then you add, and then you break it down into 15-minute to half-hour tasks. Okay. In the case of something like this, and world will, I'm certain will agree. Okay. I take a look at this. Okay, and I can look at the bottom armor, I can look at the belt, break these down into different pieces so I can get on them and go, okay, I'm completing these tasks. Okay, same as with any project at all. Okay, I strongly encourage you to get started on it. If you don't know how to do it, talk to somebody that's already accomplished what you're aiming for. Okay, has already successfully done it. Now, that being said, what do we got here? Hey, Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The unfortunate part here is we're just tying things off, but I'm so glad you dropped in. Hope your day has been really good. Thank you guys all so very much for showing up, for joining me and sharing your time with me. It has been a real pleasure having you in the chat room. I will be back again on Friday. I've actually got the day right here. Tomorrow's Thursday. That's my game night. I'm not here. Okay. But I will be back on Friday. Okay. And with that, and until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.